Jones, look at that balance. Here comes the Cardinal blitz. Geno Smith, light spiral, intercepted by Tyler. We're back.
Well, it's Monday night, a new week has begun. I turn on
Saw that coming, and Daskey's coming over after getting that hand hit. And then Shaq Barrett plays, looking at that hand.
The biggest game each week is there.
The touchdown. We saw Philip Lindsay come off the field indicating an issue with his right hand. You can see right there.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? We're ready. Are you ready for some football? A Monday night party. Hey, this is rockin' random, Hank. Ready to get the good time started. We've got the
All right, welcome everybody to week 6 of Are You Ready for a Podcast, the official podcast of Are You Ready for Some Football, Fantasy Football League. I'm your host Joe. I'm rejoined this week by Parker after missing a week. Parker, how's it going?
Well, if I would have been here last week, I would have said it was going very well. But unfortunately, I cannot say that at this time. So, we're making it.
Okay, and just how do you think the podcast went without you last week?
I thought it was good. Obviously the views show that that you as solo host might be a better direction for this podcast to go in the future. So I heard some good things. I thought it was a great interview with Morgan. So overall, I would say really well, maybe actually better.
Okay, I don't know how much of the league agrees with that, but I appreciate the.
I was going to watch it. They were at least interested.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, maybe they I don't maybe they don't love your constant negativity. So we'll have to see. So anyway, we'll get started with our week 5 recap here. Starting with the very actually no, he didn't. I figured Hunter scored the most. He did not. So Colin, coming off his loss to Hunter, played Dan, and he dropped 152, beat him by 44 points to Dan's 108. We say it every week. Colin's team, huge upside. I think you have some scoring numbers on Colin here, but I continue to be very impressed by Colin. His team is really good, and he did it while benching David Montgomery. So and having a bad James Robinson game. So really, Colin could have put up like 165, but didn't. And just a lot to be impressed with. With Colin's team here.
Yeah, I think he obviously has one of the best, if not the best team. His scoring, obviously goes to show that. I sent some of the stats in the group me yesterday, but he's averaging just an absurd amount of points. He's averaging 140 points a game. He's, number 1 in the league in scoring, and it's not close. He's like 80 points ahead of Hunter through 5 weeks. He really hasn't had a bad week. His scores by week 107, 184, 131, 126, 153. He hasn't been under 125 since week 1. And scoring's down overall this year. So yeah, great performance by Colin. We're kind of getting used to this. Obviously he got a little more depth after the Mahomes trade, and it doesn't even seem like he really needs it. Josh Allen's a freak. Eckler is what we always expected, and he really didn't miss anywhere in the draft. So yeah, great performance from Colin.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. Do you have really any takeaway from Dan? I think obviously he got fortunate with the big Kelsey game. I'll be interested to see, Ramondre Stevenson's going to basically take over his whole workload. I mean, I said last week before the preview, one of the reasons I picked Colin, other than his team being a lot better, is I didn't like him starting both Patriots running backs now. He only has to start one of them, and Ramondre Stevenson's look really good. So,
yeah, I'd say a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit up and down for Dan. Obviously, getting the loss is not great, but he did lose Damien Harris and Waller very early in the game, so that was unfortunate. And sometimes you just run into a buzzsaw, you have no chance. I think that the Damien Harris injury, I agree with you, probably helps him. You consolidate to Ramondre. Now he can put an extra person in the lineup, so that's probably good for him. Ramondre is looking great going forward. Obviously, the loss of Rashad Penny is going to hurt. Going forward, just some running back depth, but he's got depth at the running back position, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I actually have been probably feeling a little bit better about Dan's team recently.
Yeah, I mean he's 2-3. He's very much not out of it. And like we always say, if you're not going to put up a huge performance and you lose, then you want your opponent to score like a billion points, which Colin did. So moving on, our next game is Hunter, our other top two team, against Zach. This is a very highly anticipated matchup. It was 4-0 against 3-1. Hunter with a big win. Hunter continues to put up monster weeks despite starting making horrible lineup decisions. So we'll have an interview with Hunter in the second part of this episode. Might ask him about that. He benches Gabe Davis for Curtis Samuel. Gabe Davis scores 21 more points. So again, Hunter could have been in the 160s also. Just obviously this team is awesome. We both love it, have all year. And I don't know how much more there is to say. He's gonna have, we'll get to it in the picks. He's got a little bit of bye week stuff to figure out this week, but honestly, kind of in a way, like you kind of get all of that stuff out of the way this week. Maybe he takes a loss and he's 5-1 with basically no bye weeks left, or very few bye weeks left. So obviously he's in a great spot. For Zach, I think his team's still okay. Obviously had a good game. Had a what was he, fourth in scoring this week? So had a good game, but obviously when ran into the wrong team at the wrong time, and that happens a lot in our league.
Yeah, he had been fortunate early in the year, kind of caught up to him a little bit here. But I agree with you. Hunter's team just looks stacked. Josh Jacobs Emeritus really kind of solidifies his lineup. No questions really to his team, and a good performance for Zach's teams too. I think he's got really good depth moving forward. I really like Zach's team as well.
Yeah, and I mean Hunter's team. I think Hunter has, because I think Josh Jacobs has been, like you said, a huge X factor for him. And if Aaron Jones can just turn around a little bit, he's got like 3 certified really good running backs, and running back depth is basically the biggest asset in fantasy. So that is really good for Hunter. And so our next matchup is Morgan getting, after his 0-3 start, Morgan is now on a winning streak. He played Ben, who obviously like has put up some pretty hapless performances this year, but he did blow him out by almost 40, 124.16 to 85.38. Morgan, really impressive performance. I think the big takeaway here from Morgan is his running backs situation. Even though Najee hasn't looked good as running back 1, his running back situation has gotten significantly better since the beginning of the season. He now has Dameon Pierce as a certified, just really good running back, possible RB1. Jeff Wilson until Elijah Mitchell comes back is a really good running back. And then like we mentioned with Rashad Penny for Dan's team, Morgan has his backup in Kenneth Walker. So that'll be a very usable option going forward. So Morgan's got four running backs he can start again. Another good running back depth team. I think Ben has been kind of has he scored 100 points this year?
Yes, he has once. He scored 104 against you.
Against me? Okay. I don't know if he barely got
but
there.
His other 4 weeks are 70, 77, 79, and 85. So
yes.
Slowly trending up.
I guess in a way has only broken 90 once. So it just hasn't been a good year for Ben. Although I think I've only broken 90 once, so I don't have much room to talk. Slowly, Ben's team just got a couple fortunate wins. He's now back at 2-3. Obviously, 2-3, a lot can happen, but I don't love where his team's at.
Yeah, I agree. I had been coming around on his running backs, and now he's got some issues there with the James Conner injury that kind of brings the question back up. And then obviously the Cordero on the IR. So yeah, I agree. Not looking too good for Ben's team right now. And then for Morgan, the Kenneth Walker thing is huge. His running backs, after being a big question mark, now look great. So great week for Morgan.
Yeah, and I think for Ben, if you want to look forward to something, I think he'll get Cordero back in however many weeks, and then this is the last week of DeAndre Hopkins's suspension, so he will have a couple of reinforcements there for his team, and again he's 2-3, so there's a lot of season left. So next we have I'll set this up and let you tee off a little bit. So, you also lost them by 7 or 6.9. Nice. And yeah, so Austin really didn't get anything out of his quarterback. Spent a lot on Jared Goff last week on waivers and didn't get anything out of him. He had a terrible game. Kamara was really big. Other than that, kind of solid down the board. Raheem Mostert's a big plus for him. Has kind of taken over the starter role in Miami. For you had I'll just let you take over from here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, disastrous performance from my team. The Taysom Hill game makes it look a lot better than it was, but it was very ugly, really, overall. I was really upset after Thursday night, Russell Wilson playing as bad as he did. I thought that was going to cost me, but I actually, did better than him at the quarterback position. It was everywhere else. The Jonathan Taylor injury just crushed me here. I have no running back depth. Thanks to Austin, I thought after week 1 I had Henderson and Edmonds as reliable starters, and now Austin has the starters on those teams, and I just have nothing. So obviously disaster for my team, but there's no bright spots. There's no silver lining. The team's just bad. It starts at the top with Russell Wilson, obviously, who made a change, moved on from him, and really nothing to break down. I mean, for Austin, congrats. Everyone's gonna beat me, but good work on that. And nothing, no positives to take away from this. This is a burn the tape, and just throw it out the window and try to move on.
No comment on your tight end scoring 34 points despite not catching a pass and you still losing.
I mean, that was just lucky. So I don't think, obviously that's the reason you play Taysom is like, well, my team looks terrible and I have no chance. So might as well roll him out there and see if something weird happens. And something weird happened and it still didn't matter. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate to get close and lose. Like, obviously you want to win your close games. So I was a little frustrated by that, but I mean, I didn't deserve to win this week. The Taysom Hill thing, obviously, even if I would have won, I'm sure would have just been undone and not counted anyway. So, it was just kind of for fun to try to get some enjoyment out of the week, which didn't work. I was miserable all along, hated every minute of it. And no positive to take away.
Yeah, and you mentioned you mentioned the Russ moving on from it a little bit. Do you have any comment on the quarterback change? You're no longer Broncos country riding.
Yeah, I would have liked to know that my quarterback had an injured shoulder. I should have dropped him several weeks ago. That was very poor management on my part. I was, the 27-point performance or whatever it was against the Raiders and the clutch win against Nick kind of bought him another week in my lineup, and that was just reactionary by me and stupid. So, my comment is that we put Russ out to pasture, and hopefully we won't be hearing from him again. I do have a lot of questions about trusting Geno Smith. As we know, I have somewhat of a checkered history with him in this league, and but
don't write him off. Don't write him off.
Yeah, no, he won't write back. I sort of fell back into a corner. I overspent on him massively. It's just bad. It's bad all around. Everything's bad.
Yeah. So I think that about sums it up. That was a nice little recap there. So our next game is Grant just defeating my piss poor team. Didn't even need to do really much to do it. Didn't even put up 100 points. It was 99.5 to 75.8. This is obviously Grant's MO. He does just enough and then gets incredible points against luck. Nick Chubb and Leonard Fournette had a dynamite game each. Scored 56 of his points, which I think him, Lamar, and Chubb almost outscored my team by themselves. So Grant seems solid. A little worried about Clyde and kind of the weirdness of the Kansas City backfield that he has. But other than his, I still don't think his receiver situation is the strongest. But he has, again, Hunter, Morgan, great running back depth, huge asset. For my team, I have no comment. I said last week I've been a poor manager this year. That continued, and there's nothing to say about my team. It's bad. So there's nothing to say until something changes, and it really looks like nothing is going to change on the trade market. If a little live update, I offered Colin one of my receivers for one of his non-Amon-Ra starters, which would be Drake London or Hollywood, and one of his bench receivers, which would be like Waddle, Judy, or not Waddle, Judy, Lockett, or somebody else. And he countered with Judy and MVS for Jalen Waddle. So those are the kind of offers I'm getting on the trade market. I offer Thomas stuff. Everybody's turning me down. So there's really like my team is just going to stay the same pretty much all year, and it's going to be bad. So I have no other comment on that.
Yeah. I think that this was a good win for Grant. Obviously, anytime you can get a win with less than 100 points, you're happy. I do have some more questions about his team than I did before, but we'll kind of get to that in the preview a little bit, or maybe in the power ranking section. And for your team, I think there is a little bit of things to look forward to. I think McCaffrey's kind of turning things around, and I think ETN, the usage is encouraging. But you're right; it's been a rough start. The points haven't been flowing. Your defensive streaming has been an abject disaster. Yeah. So, really. But yeah, I don't think that there's no positives you can take from this. But obviously, 1-4 is a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, like you mentioned, like I've picked up. I've started 2 defenses that have gone in the negative out of 5 weeks, so that is horrible. I keep starting Josh Palmer because Keenan Allen keeps getting declared out, and Josh Palmer just sucks. I mean, he did have the one garbage time touchdown against you, but yeah, he is not good, and he had one good game on my bench, so I was like, oh, maybe he'll actually be something when Keenan Allen's not out there. That is not the case. The Dolphins are starting Skylar Thompson, so that is tanked Waddle, and then Matt Ryan is completely washed. So all of my receivers are in terrible situations, and yeah. So other than that, yeah, I guess ETN's a little bit of a positive, but like I said, I don't want to talk about my team anymore. Our last matchup of the week is Thomas against Nick. This was the matchup of the week because this one came down to Monday night. Nick needed Devontae to outscore Juju by, what was it, 21 or 22, something like that, or 20 and a half, something like that. So he needed a huge Devontae game and Juju not to do much. He got exactly that. Devontae scores 2 touchdowns before pushing a cameraman and getting charged with misdemeanor. And he gets his win in the late in the fourth quarter. I kind of, much like last year when I kept ranking Nick's team high and he kept losing, I was like prepared to do the Nick drop in my rankings. Well, obviously we'll get to the power rankings in a little bit. And then that happened, and I kind of flipped it a little bit. I kept Thomas kind of low, and I kept Nick kind of in the middle and fairly. So obviously we'll get to that. But yeah, obviously I think that was a huge, potentially season-saving win for Nick because 1-4, like you said, really tough spot to be in. That's not where Thomas is. I think Nick now at 2-3 can take, can look a little bit more optimistically at the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I have similar takes on both of these teams. The game, obviously, you said that the huge Devontae Adams performance saved Nick's tail in this one. Thomas has got to flip one of these running backs and get some receivers because, he's got 3 good, valuable running backs, and you just cannot be running out there Robbie Anderson and Allen Robinson every week. That's just not. That's a disaster. So we'll see if he maybe becomes active on the trade market. But yeah, good win for Nick. Would have been a bad loss, but he avoided it with a somewhat lucky win. But you got to capitalize on those opportunities. Especially he'd been the unluckiest team in the season before this week, so he was due for one, and he got it here.
Yeah, and even like you say you have to. I agree that you have to trade one of those running backs for a receiver. Obviously, I tried that with Thomas, and he doesn't seem really too into the trade market based off his response to me. But even then, like, just completely overhaul your receiver core and just like pick up like random flyer free agents. Like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it can't be worse than what he's doing now at wide receiver. Like his wide receivers right now are so bad. So I kind of agree with that. Yeah, so we will move on to the power rankings. Obviously very similar last week, and I think we'll be a little different this week. So do you want to start or do you want me to start?
I'll start. Let's just go 1-12 this time. I think I was listening to it last week as a non-participant, and it's very confusing going 12-1.
I also said I put Austin at 8, and then I said Morgan. I was like, oh yeah, and then Morgan at 8, even though I had Morgan at 7. I was just like, so that would have been confusing also. But last week I was screen sharing so they could see I had Morgan over Austin.
Yeah. So I'll go first. I had Hunter at 1 again, Colin at 2, Grant at 3. I don't think there's going to be much disagreement there. I'm imagining you had the same top 3. And then I had Nick up 2 spots to 4, Zach down 1 to 5, Morgan up 1 to 6, Austin up 1 to 7, Dan up a couple at 8, Ben at 9, you at 10, me at 11, Thomas at 12.
Okay. Okay. So I have Hunter at number 1. I have Colin at number 2, Grant at number 3, like you said. I actually moved up Morgan at number 4. I think him at even him at 2 and 3. I think his team is good enough that it kind of offsets his record. And he beat my number 5 team, Zach, who I have at 5. I have Nick at 6. I have Austin at 7, like you do. I have you at 8. I have Dan at 9. I have Thomas at 10. I have Ben at 11, and I have myself in last.
Okay, so we have some differences mostly at the back end. We have Nick, Zach, Morgan at the 4, 5, 6. I think that's we probably agree.
We both have Zach at 5. We just have Nick and Morgan flip.
Yeah, those teams are pretty close. All throughout. Obviously, the records are different. But I just went on talent. I felt like Nick had the best team out of that group. And Morgan, I put him at 6. Maybe I should have moved him up more. I probably would take Morgan's team over those other 2 now that I think about it. But the record was the main thing. And then I guess Nick's also 2 and 3. So I don't really know why I did that. But they were all really close.
Yeah. I like Nick's running wide receivers better, obviously. Like obviously when they made the trade preseason, he upgraded it at like all of his receiver spots. But I now like Morgan's running backs a lot more. Nick's running backs have not done anything this year, and I don't really like them that much going forward. And then when they flipped quarterbacks, Nick thought he was getting the better quarterback, I think, and Morgan just has the much better quarterback with Jalen Hurts. And then they both kind of have whatever tight end. So I do like I think Morgan's running backs and quarterback advantage offsets Nick or kind of beats Nick's receiver advantage.
I could see that argument. I don't.
And they're both 2 and 3.
Yeah, I mean that it's pretty similar. I don't know. I kind of think Melvin and Zeke will be okay. I don't think that's that bad. But he's got all.
I think Melvin, yes. Zeke.
He's got other receivers. I think the depth will help him on bye weeks.
Yeah. He does have 5 receivers. That's a good point.
It's pretty close. I do agree that Hurts looks better than Herbert, though. And then our other disagreement's kind of at the bottom. So you had you at last. Like I told you, I kind of think obviously a terrible performance, but I think I kind of feel better about some of the guys on your team. McCaffrey wasn't putting up the points, but now he's what? Is he running back 6 on the year? So he's almost a top 5 running back. And that's with outscoring a lot of touchdowns and being on a terrible offense. I think the coaching change can only help him. The ETN usage is coming around. And then I just really like your receivers. So I think your team has potential, although haven't been putting up the points yet. And the 1-4 record kind of hurts you. But I think 10 is a much more fair ranking. I think your team's clearly better than mine and also Thomas's.
So I have Thomas ahead because so first of all, let me check real quick. Who's ahead in scoring? Okay, I'm barely ahead of him in scoring. I'm ahead by 12 points. But I think Thomas's avenue with his running back depth to get better is he has a more clear path to get better. And I think his team just has more room for improvement. I think we're in a very similar spot. I actually would probably have Ben ahead just because of the better record. And I think all 3 teams are really bad. So I guess, honestly, I probably would have flipped Ben and Thomas because Ben just has a better record. But yeah, I think Thomas just has more room for improvement than me. I'm kind of just in a weird spot because my team is bad, but I don't think and I kind of want to trade McCaffrey for depth. That's kind of the one path I have to trading for more depth. But the rest of the league does not view McCaffrey, I think, as highly as I do. Maybe I know you value him highly, but I don't think we are really good trade partners because you have Jonathan Taylor and it's kind of weird. But yeah, I kind of like Thomas's. Me and Thomas, I think are very similar, but I kind of like Thomas's outlook on the season. Obviously, we're in the same division, so we're both in the easy division. And yeah, and obviously we're gonna settle on the field because we have yet to play, and we'll play twice. But yeah, I guess that's just kind of my argument.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's close. I think I don't know. Thomas' team has been so bad recently, but I guess I mean
That
you're
was mine.
recently too. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. The 64 and 74 points the last 2 weeks kind of moved Thomas firmly to the bottom, and I did not see any reason to move him up after this week.
Well, he had the last 2 weeks. He had what 98 this week. Or
Yeah,
90. Oh, you mean like the week before?
yeah. I had him at last by a long way last week.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I mean, I had him pretty definitively in last week, but he outplayed me this week, and
And I
again,
don't know how you have me ahead of Dan. That's one of the more outrageous things I've ever heard.
So I think you freak out. I think you're overreacting a little to Jonathan Taylor. I still think he's going to be okay. Like I still think he'll, he had the long week to recover from the ankle. I think he'll be okay going forward. I know their offense isn't very good, but he'll still get a ton of work. Nyheim Hines, I don't know what his status is with his concussion, but he's I mean, he got hurt in their last game. So I like him moving forward. Dan's team outside of Kelce, like Jamar hasn't really been great this year. I guess the Damian Harris or the Ramondre thing is good for him, but and then he lost Penny. Like I think, I don't really love Dan's team still. I think it's pretty close. Y'all are both 2 and 3. And then Godwin hasn't been healthy like all year. He's been in and out all year. Waller hasn't been great this year. I think there's just a lot of concerns on Dan's team. And then I like Burrow. Burrow still hasn't been very good. Like outside of Kelce and now Ramondre, who I feel pretty good about, and I mean Jamar, I feel good about, just not as good as I did preseason. Like I think there's a lot of concerns. And then for your team, I think you have Kupp, who's the best player in fantasy, the most consistent. I think Jonathan Taylor's gonna be fine. Olave, if he can clears all this concussion stuff really good. I think Pitts will turn it around. Like I'm just a little bit more bullish on some of your guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just from hearing you talk, the main difference is probably your opinion on my team, because I think at this point we just have to accept that Jonathan Taylor is maybe one of the biggest fantasy busts, non-injury related of all time.
Partially injury related.
Well, partially injury related, that is true, but that offense is so bad. He's not going to be able to really do much in that situation, and so he's kind of a borderline back end running back 2 at this point. And if that's the case, then there's just nothing. It's just Kupp and nothing. Olave, obviously the concussion. The Jameis Winston offense is kind of gone. The air yards are.
He's been good with Dalton.
Yeah, but that's just because touchdowns have been inflating him. He hasn't been getting nearly the opportunities that he has with what that he was with Jameis. And obviously with the new concussion rules, he could miss the next 6 or 8 weeks at least. So I just, essentially disregard that. And the rest of the team is just garbage. I guess I'm just going to keep running Taysom Hill out there and hope he can score 30 points a week and somehow pull me off a win, because that's essentially what I'm down to.
Yeah. I still think Brandon Cooks is okay. Yeah. Your running back situation is really bad. Like, I guess you would be another one who, like, if you could flip Jonathan Taylor into 2 worse but starting running backs maybe.
Yeah. Like, I mean, what on earth am I going to do with this bench that I have?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. But you have just hope guys get hurt. Like, Mop got hurt, and you got to hope. Raheem Mostert, the most injury-prone person on earth, he'll probably get hurt again. And I mean, Lenny's had some minor ankle issues this year. You never know. Like you have Elijah Mitchell on your IR. See if he's the starter.
Exactly right, Joe. My plan forward is just hope guys get hurt. That's essentially it.
But that's all fantasy basically. Like it's all an
But I mean, look at the trend on that, because this week we didn't really talk about it with my game with Austin. We would have if I was on the preview, but so he gets Kamara back playing awesome after missing several weeks. He then benefits from Jahan Dotson being hurt.
2 weeks.
To get
Does that require? Does 2 weeks fall under several.
Yes. And then on my side, David Montgomery
Oh,
decided.
it was 1 week.
Okay, well, you know what? You understand what I meant. He's missed 2 games this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he missed the second and the fourth game.
Oh, okay.
Made the third
Well,
game, yeah.
Either way, back to 100% for the first time this year. Obviously, he's just miraculously healed when he plays me. And then David Montgomery comes back just to torpedo Khalil Herbert's value just in time. And then Kyle Pitts gets a mysterious injury out of nowhere. Jonathan Taylor's hurt. And so, the injury luck hasn't favored me and won't. And so counting on that going forward is a very bad plan. It's really not even a plan. Luck is not a plan. And so, I'm left with nothing.
But we're also talking about like Dan's injury, like Godwin, Rashad Penny. Like Dan has been very unlucky injury wise also. So
I agree, but the thing is, like, which of us is more likely to have fortunate luck going forward?
it's equal because that as much to your, even though you disagree with this, the like fantasy world is not out to get you.
What happened? Oh, I was just reacting to Dan's message in the group meet, but apparently he was reacting to nothing. I thought maybe there was a trade that we missed. Sorry, we're live reacting to Dan.
For Hunter or to Morgan requesting Hunter's firstborn for Kenneth Walker.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, I see what he's saying now. Anyway, all right. Well, the last thing that I think we need to cover, unless there's anything else you want to cover, is where do we stand on the Taysom Hill situation now? What's the chance that I am allowed to play him in the tight end spot moving forward? From your perspective, because it's obviously out of my hand.
Do you want my real do you want me to actually like play into this, or I will ignore you if this is not actually genuine?
I mean, I want to know what is going to happen.
Well, if you recall 2 years ago, Parker, you were starting a quarterback as your tight end because, get this, people's positions can change. He was a starting quarterback listed at quarterback 2 years ago, and you had him in your tight end. This year, he is listed as a tight end. We play by ESPN's rules. That's in the Constitution. They deem him a tight end. You are allowed to play him a tight end.
I mean, okay.
And if they deem him a quarterback, if that changes, you will not be allowed to play him at tight end. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so it sounds like you're still riding the fence pretty clearly. We'll see what happens. If I do happen to get a win with Taysom in my lineup, I'll probably continue to play him just because I don't really have another chance otherwise. But it does seem like a bit of a gray area.
I'm not responding.
All right. Anything else to cover?
No, I don't think so, unless you have like stats or anything, which sometimes you do.
I have some stats. Oh, yeah, we should talk about that. So as far as what happened this week, Austin obviously eclipsed 9,000 points. So he's 12th to do that. Like, you didn't seem too impressed by that stat last time.
Well, I mean, we have 12 people in the league, and the other people that were members of the league were members for like at most 3 years. So like,
that is true, but hey, 9,000 points is still a lot. And Morgan and Nick got their 75th wins last week, so congratulations to them on that. Me and Hunter played in our 160th game, so that's tied for third most all time. Obviously, we will stay tied until the end of the year, until Hunter makes playoffs, and then he'll pass me up. And then Austin played in his 90th game, so that's also 12th most, as you might have guessed. And then Colin scored over 150 for his 6th time, which ties Grant for the most all time. And no one else has more than 3. So Colin and Grant obviously have been very good the last several years, and they have dominated in that category. As far as the luck rankings go, we actually have a 4-way tie for luckiest teams this year, which is extremely odd. But Hunter, Grant, Austin, and Ben have all been a little over 1 win over expectation. And then on the unlucky side, Nick's been a little over 1 win below, and Colin's been almost 1.4 wins below. Colin actually has unexpected wins of 4.4. So he's been pretty unlucky this year to have 2 losses, despite scoring the 7th, 1st, 2nd, and 1st most points. So Colin has not finished outside the top 2 in scoring since week 1, which is pretty awkward.
Yeah, he's been the leading scorer more often than he's not been, which is impressive.
Yeah, which is absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, that's all the rest of the stats. We'll get to more in the preview.
All right. Well, that was good stuff. And yeah, so after the break, we will have an interview with Hunter. All right. Welcome back to the podcast. We are now joined by 4-time DJ runner-up Hunter. Hunter, how's it going?
Great. Just watching a wonderful Thursday night football game.
Yeah, we are recording this a little late. We're recording during the Thursday night game. So when we make the picks, we'll be doing I guess it won't be it'll be after some of the matchups have started. So apologies for that. But yeah, so honestly just want to get we brought Hunter on. We're kind of planning on having him on last week, and then Morgan got his first win, so pivoted a little bit. Hunter still is the only undefeated team. So just how are we feeling after this early 5-0 start?
I mean, it feels pretty good. Just trying to keep doing what I've been doing and not like overthink anything, being undefeated. Just take it one week at a time.
Well, I mean, I feel like you have been overthinking a little bit.
Well, yeah, left some multiple 30-point scorers on the bench. So
yeah, that was gonna be my next question of how we change that going forward.
Well, look, I got Isaiah McKenzie's on the bench right now. He's due for a 30-point game. If anyone wants to trade for him, Parker.
I've been trying. You really don't seem interested in Chase Edmonds.
Can't imagine why.
We'll see. We'll talk offline. We'll work a deal.
Okay, I'm down. I need Isaiah McKenzie so I don't have to start Kyle Pitts and Taysom Hill this week. Two possible zeros from tight ends in my lineup this week is really encouraging.
That's a tough scene.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, if we look at your league history, I always like to ask some history questions. And then the glaring thing is obviously the 4 runner-up finishes. Between me and Joe, we've had you kind of pretty consistently almost every week at number 1 in the power rankings. But we've been asking people who they think is going to win the league. And some people have said you, but some people seem concerned about the playoff track record, about, we know you can get to the championship, but what happens when you get there? What's going on? Is this like a 1990s Buffalo Bills situation? Do you think you can get over the hump? Is it just about getting there enough times, or what's the deal when it comes to you in the championship game?
It's a good question. I don't know. You just gotta put yourself in that situation, and then. Oh, sorry, I got an update popped up. Just put yourself in the situation where you can win it. You can't win it if you don't make it there. So I'm like
even if they do make it there.
That's true. I'm like an early career LeBron James,
I see.
People are saying we can't win the championship. So maybe I'll have to move to Miami and all that shit.
That would be cool. You could team up, form a super team.
We've already had we have bad history with that in our league.
That's true. Let's stay away from super teams.
I think we should legislate back in super teams. I think the league was much more exciting when there were super teams.
Because you beat it, that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
You can go ahead.
I was just gonna say, speaking of super teams, obviously 5-0, second most points in the league, but you've beaten Colin already, who has the most points in the league. And this is pretty much a super team as far as I could tell. No obvious holes. Tyler Higbee's come on. It seemed like tight end was your main question mark coming into the season, and now like with Josh Jacobs, the running back depth looks great. Is there anything you're concerned about your team right now? Is there even anything you could improve aside from just starting the right guys in the right weeks?
Yes, we'll start by not leaving 30 points or a 30-point score on the bench. I don't know. I guess depth is kind of a concern, which is that happens when you invest heavily in the guys early in the auction, or spend a lot early in the auction. I don't know, but I feel like I made some pretty good waiver wire pickups along the way. So I'm not that concerned with it. I guess I didn't realize that I'd have 5 dudes on bye this week, but I don't know. I try not to look at bye weeks when I'm doing the auction or draft or whatever. And I don't know. I guess we'll see this week. If there's going to be a loss, it'll be this week. Just with Henry and the other guys on bye.
Does that mean that if you win this week, you're guaranteeing an undefeated season?
Well, I don't want to use the word guarantee, but things would be looking good, I guess.
Wow, bold words there.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously you started 5-0. I mean, and I think I think maybe the biggest hurdle for keeping this undefeated season, are you going to be able to maintain focus once the Pelican season starts?
See, that's a good point. I just needed fantasy football to entertain me long enough for the NBA season to start, and now that'll be starting next week. So yeah, that's a good question, Joe. I guess we'll have to see after the beginning of the season.
Yeah, we'll see how long this Zion ankle injury keeps up.
Oh God.
Is Zion's hurt again already?
Yeah, he rolled his ankle last night, but allegedly he's okay.
My God, this is big. To bring it back to fantasy football, this is big time Michael Thomas vibes I'm getting here from this guy.
No, he said he's fine. Twitter said
Once again, big time Michael Thomas vibes.
out for the year or whatever, and then he said
Zion doesn't have enough cryptic tweets to be Michael Thomas.
But you should actually, Parker, like bring up your medical credentials to Zion, because he was like making fun of like Twitter doctors that were like diagnosing the injury. So you should just be like, well, I'm an actual doctor, and I think you're like severely sprained your ankle.
I should do that. That would be
Pro
good.
basketball doc.
I've come on this podcast and said that I thought David Montgomery was going to miss 3 or 4 weeks, and then he missed 1. So I don't think my athletic diagnoses from watching on TV have been proven very accurate so far.
True. Also, Hunter, don't you think like some of these point totals you've been putting up, like it's been like just way too much? Don't you think you could, wouldn't like a lower point total like suffice? Just you get the win and it's nice and easy.
Well, it did against Parker.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, you don't really need these big point totals. Like some people say you need a big point total and it's better, but I think a smaller point total can be better sometimes for like everybody involved.
So
like you don't need such a big point total. Like a small, I wouldn't even call it a small, like a perfectly average point total can just
I'm very happy
done.
My team is very happy with the point totals we've been putting up. Everybody's been having a great time.
I mean, it's very respectable. You could call it average. You could even lie and say it's slightly above average.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
what
are we talking about here?
Fantasy.
Well, it took 5 minutes to get to a dick joke, so that's good.
I like how subtly that was worked in. It just flowed with the conversation.
Well, I knew I had to work it in at some point.
That's what she said.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Well, I don't really have many more questions. I mean, I don't know what there is to say besides just that the season's going as well as it possibly could so far. We'll see if this is peaking too early or if this is just building a monster for the playoffs. But obviously you can't complain too much about being 5-0 through 5 weeks and pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot. So I don't know what else there is to ask from that standpoint. Joe, anything?
No, I think we should probably just get to picks, since like these keep like live updating the lines with the game going on.
Oh
yeah, let's get to picks.
Okay. So we'll start last week. Me, Parker and Morgan each went 4-2. So I maintain my I would say average size lead, but my 8-game lead. Actually that's a really big lead. Honestly, if it was like 2 games,
that's way too big of a lead.
If it was like 2 games, that would be a pretty normal league. But yeah, 8-game lead on Parker, 10-game lead on our guest. So once again, a little bit of work to do for Hunter. So our first matchup is Zach and Dan. Zach is a big projected favorite here at 119.5 to 106.2. That is a 225.7 total. And I haven't loved Dan's team. Zach starting Eno Benjamin. I think that's a big plus for him with James Conner unlikely to play. So I will take Zach. I think I like Zach's team a lot more than Dan's.
Question: Are we picking with the spread or just
No,
straight up?
Straight up.
Straight up this year.
Okay. Sorry,
Thanks
I
for-
promise I've watched all the podcast
Thanks for
episodes.
watching.
Clearly. I think I actually like Dan here. Something about Joe Burrow in the Superdome, Joe and Jamar in the Superdome, makes me feel like that could be a big week for him. And then obviously his only bye week is Darren Waller, who is not really much of a loss at this point. So I like Dan.
I will go Zach as well. I like the Stephon Diggs versus Kansas City. I feel like Bills are going to put up a lot of points. And same thing, Saquon, Baltimore. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game as well.
And my only statistical note from this one is that Zach's still looking for his 10th 125-point game. I don't know if I really need to keep repeating that. I don't know if 125-point games happen enough that I should say that every week. But I also mentioned that last week. So Zach,
it really worked on Nick to get a 75th win after like his 4th try. So I think Zach's knocking on the door.
Yeah, he'll be really motivated for that. So that does make me a little nervous about picking Dan, but still gonna stick with him.
Yeah. Okay. So our next matchup is our esteemed guest here. Hunter is taking on Grant. Hunter, a 5-0, obviously the premier matchup of the week in terms of power rankings. This is both of our number 1 team versus number 3 team. Grant, actually, because of all of Hunter's bye weeks, is a projected 109.3. There's a live line to 98.4 because Hunter has Curtis Samuel playing right now. So that's 207.7. So Hunter, what are your thoughts here?
Should have played Isaiah McKenzie over Curtis Samuel, is what I think.
Yeah, but then you'd have been screwed if Nyheim Hines didn't play.
That's true.
That's true.
So I feel like you kind of had to play him.
Right. No, I was thinking about that.
And where would you be if you your team would just be pretty much dead if you couldn't play the Colts backup running back?
That's true.
Probably just
It would
turning the season.
be dead in the water.
Yeah.
I do think Nyheim Hines is going to play, but that looked pretty rough last week.
Yeah, I don't know where he is in concussion protocol.
I think that's why he got a limited
now.
practice
They're now
today.
being more rigorous with it after Tua got thrown back in there after being knocked to another planet.
Yeah, but what you're not factoring in is that I have Jonathan Taylor maybe coming back this week, so there's no way he can get the backfield to himself.
That's true.
That
I
would-
do
that would be
have
considered good for
the
me.
Parker curse on my side.
Yeah. Either way, Hunter, you want to go first for your team?
I feel like I can't pick against myself, right? That's like I don't know, Pete Rose betting against the Reds, you know?
You clearly don't listen to this podcast because that happens all the time here.
Well, you got me. I'll go Grant here. I like I don't know, just all the bye weeks and everything. Grant's got a good team, like as in of itself, and then with my team in bye week hell, I'll go Grant.
Yeah, I gotta agree. This is a classic Grant spot. Just absolutely, he'll put up a fine performance, and then he'll get just like, once again great points against luck based off of all your bye weeks. So yeah, I mean this is as on brand as it gets for a Grant matchup. So I'll also take Grant.
I'm gonna go actually the over here. We got the number 1 and number 3 teams in the power rankings playing with like a 207 point total.
Yeah.
So I'm
So
gonna take
yeah,
the over.
as a recording, 207.7.
Yeah,
is the live line, so that's over you're taking. Okay.
I'm gonna take the over. That feels pretty easy. I do think Grant will win this, but I'm starting to have a few more questions with his team, particularly his flex running backs, Dobbins and Clyde. I still don't love. And I think Fournette and Chubb are going to have bad weeks. We just haven't really seen that yet. So I'll take the over here because I'm a little tentative on picking Grant outright.
Okay, fair enough. And our next matchup will be you, Parker. You're taking on Morgan. Very close spread here, 104.8. Your favorite to 103.3, a 208.1 total. So once again, cannot imagine what your thoughts are here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna change things up and pick against me. I'm gonna go with Morgan here. I think that first of all, this projection is not factoring in the fact that T. Higgins will most likely play this week. He's actually projected 0 right now, so Morgan put in Gallup, but I think T. Higgins will be back. I think Keenan Allen will be back. Everybody seems to be healing up just in time for this game. Morgan to be back at full strength. And then, he is missing Dameon Pierce, but that's kind of offset by me missing Cooks and playing two garbage tight ends in my lineup. So I really don't like the way my team looks right now. I don't trust Geno Smith at all. I'll take Morgan here pretty handily. Although there are some point totals to look at here. I need 79 points to be the first team to 16,000 points all time, and Morgan needs 48 points to reach the 14,000 point marker, which would be the 8th team to get to 14,000 points. So, both teams will be motivated to put up some points, but I think Morgan will put up more.
Shocker. I'm going to take you. T. Higgins is not going to play. He got downgraded from being projected points to not being projected points. He doesn't have Dameon Pierce, who is probably his best running back this year. Probably won't have Rashad Bateman. Keenan Allen's always hurt. Can't rely on him. And so, yeah, it looks like Chris Olave might be playing. Has cleared some of the concussion protocol. So we'll see on Sunday. But even if he doesn't, I like your team. Or I actually kind of I do like Morgan's team more, but he has
I was about to say you like my team even if
yeah, we're talking about the part. I do like Morgan's team a lot more than yours, but he has injuries and bye weeks. Worse injury and bye week luck than you this week. So I like you.
I think that's false. First of all,
what do you mean? He has you don't have Brandon Cooks. He doesn't have Bateman, Dameon Pierce, or T. Higgins.
They're probably all going to play, but obviously not Dameon Pierce. But
Dameon Pierce is going to
play. Bateman will play. Keenan Allen will obviously play. Olave's going to miss. Cup's questionable now. He'll probably miss. You
practice today.
Okay.
Let's practice today.
Okay.
They're going to play.
I'm just saying, Joe. Stranger things have happened. Okay. Anyway, I'll let you talk, Hunter. Sorry.
It's all good. I'm gonna take Morgan in a close one. I think even if he does have to play Gallup instead of T, I think Gallup's gonna have a good game against. I don't know. He's coming back. Was last week his first week back, right?
I think it was his second.
He looked good. I like Gallup. I had him last year in I think our league or a different league. I don't know. I think Gallup's gonna have a good game this week.
Okay. I would hate that. So speaking of me, we'll move on to my matchup with Nick. I'm somehow a projected favorite here, 107.2 live with the Commanders defense to 98.7. So that's a total of 205.9. I think that's quick math. 205.9. I'm gonna take Nick. Nick seems good. My team's bad. That's my only argument.
I'm gonna take you. It's pretty clear. Nick's team has been playing well, but he's missing. Maybe his best player with Devontae Adams being out for this one. And I don't think he can play AJ Dillon right now. So kind of a tough week for his team. Fortunately, you're there to capitalize. You played one of the worst defenses in the league, and they're at 11 points right now. So I think it's looking good for you. Aaron Rodgers going to come out hot against the Jets. It's time for him to have a big game. And I like you here to win and cover.
Yeah, super lucky of me that the Bears are playing bad offensively. Like that never happens. Hunter,
can I take the under here?
Yeah.
Is that legal? Yeah, I'm gonna go under. I just don't like a lot of these matchups for both of y'all's guys. Waddle's gonna have a third string quarterback thrown to him. I don't know. Indies look bad.
That means
Denver's look bad. Christian Kirk hasn't done anything in 3 weeks. Do I?
Third string quarterback is going to probably lock into his primary receiver. The short, quick routes. That's Waddle's specialty. I don't think he's going to be slinging it down the field to Tyreek.
Well, didn't really work last week.
Brian Robinson scored. Grant didn't start him. That's fortunate.
He scored again?
He scored once.
Oh, okay. That was a little while ago.
This was the last play of Brian Robinson. Oh, my bad. Yeah, I'm all right.
This is good podcasting.
Never mind.
Great podcasting.
Sorry about that. I saw Brian Robinson 1 yard touchdown or 1 yard rush, and then I saw he had a rushing touchdown. So up in the left corner. So sorry. Oh shit. All right. So our next match. Wait, did you make a pick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took the under. Yeah.
I don't know. All right. My screen just or my Safari just quit. So do you have the next matchup?
I have not added all the points up, but I'm pretty sure it will be Colin and Ben. Colin projected a 115 to 81 winner here. That total is 196, it looks like, or 197.3. Obviously this is a pretty easy one for me. We got the best team in the league versus the worst team in the league. Colin's averaging, I said this earlier, but Colin's averaging 57 more points a game than Ben this week.
In America, the
You
future
have to be
belongs to
an
everyone.
insane person to pick Ben, so I'll take Colin in a route.
Yeah, same. Not much to add there. Josh Allen's going to score like 40 points this week.
Joe, Colin and Ben pick.
Sorry about that. I'm having all sorts of technical issues. Yeah, I'll take Colin. His team is way better, obviously. Yeah, I don't think there's much more that needs to be said. He'll probably put up like 190 points, and then Ben will like struggle to put up 80. So honestly, I think Colin should shoot for that, like 100-point win. I think that would be something.
That's only happened once in the league before, Joe. You were on the losing end of that one.
Yeah, I know. I would like some company in that category. So let's try to make it happen this week.
And then our last one is Austin against Thomas. This is projected 183.3 total. And right now Thomas, this one has been updating a lot as the game's gone on, but Thomas is projected 94.4 to 88.7 winner. Austin just cannot get anything out of the quarterback position this year. He sent in the group earlier, his high points from a quarterback this year is 11. And it looks like Carson Wentz is putting down another dud tonight. So Austin and Thomas, Joe.
I always do this with obviously I know Austin's gotten off to a rough start tonight. But I always do this with kind of the low scoring matchup. I'll take the over. I always just think like, they have, you got Goff on bye and Thomas won't have DeAndre Swift. So obviously they're out some pretty key guys, but I always think like with the total this low and you get some professional football players out there, some okay fantasy options on each team. They can score whatever that is, 180 points, or 183 points, whatever that is. So I think that's a low enough total for me to take the over.
I'll go Austin here. It doesn't look so good through the early returns. Terry McLaurin not having a great game. Carson Wentz is having a pretty bad game. So tough to pick him at this moment, but I just think his roster is so much better. Look at Thomas's team, and he's got Joe Mixon and Breece Hall, which we like, but everything else is just kind of a big shit show. So I'm taking Austin.
Yeah, I agree with Parker there. I'm gonna take Austin.
Okay.
All right, that's all. That's the last matchup.
All
Let me
right.
see if there's any more things I forgot to mention. Oh yeah, Colin needs 168 points to get to 15,000 all time to come to fifth. Usually I don't start reading them out till they're closer to like 150 points, but with Colin's team, I just figured that would be notable. It would also be his 150th game this week. And then Joe, you and Colin are both looking for a 100-point game number 70. So we'll see if one of y'all can get it done this week.
Colin went 0-13 and missed the whole season, and I still has as many 100-point games as me. That's pretty bad for me.
Well, teams didn't used to score 100 points as much back then.
Sure.
Different era.
Yeah, sure.
Different era. It was the dead ball era.
Yeah. That's back when plumbers and firemen were playing for all our teams.
Yeah, Parker won all of his championships against plumbers and firemen,
You know what,
school teachers.
I would argue that it was actually harder to win championships back then because you had to not only assemble a good fantasy football team, but you also had to like buy people lunch and like have fantasy basketball picks and all sorts of other shit just to stock up for the playoffs to win. So actually, I would say
fantasy basketball picks that not everybody else had.
In the first year, I had to literally beat 2 teams. So like, it didn't come easy back then.
I mean, I'll give you the first year. I'll give you the first year, not a Mickey Mouse. The second one, But anyway, yeah, actually, Hunter. Well, so our last question, Parker usually asks us, but he forgot. So who do you think is the best team in the league?
I think my team is the best team in the league. Not to
Okay.
sound cocky.
And who do you think the
You didn't
worst?
even pick that team, so
Do what?
Well, that's
you didn't
bye
even
week.
pick your own team.
Oh, not this week, but
And who do you think?
worst team in the league? Probably Ben. Sorry, Ben.
Well, I mean, that's the wrong answer, but that's okay. Anyway, so
I have one more question. Do you think this is sort of related to our previous discussion? If Nick and Thomas formed a super team this year again of combining their
Ooh.
teams, would that team be better than Hunter's team now?
I like that question. I'm gonna have to look at the teams.
I'm gonna go yes because I think Thomas still has pretty good running backs and Nick has great receivers. So yeah, I think yes.
I mean, you heard it here first. Thomas
that's-
and Nick, you should
That team
form a
would
super
would
team.
be really stacked.
I think, and Thomas has Ertz, right? That's a good enough tight end. And then it'd be Herbert. I think it would be the quarterback. Yeah, I would say yes, that team.
How stacked would you say that team would be? Like how many A's?
That would be a lot of A's.
Do you have any more fun stats about my team?
Any more fun stats about your team? I'm currently trying to look up how many times Joe scored 100 points in 2014. Because
Well, that
Colin
has nothing to
did-
do with my team.
Colin only did once. It looks like Joe did 4 times. So really only picked up 300-point games on him that year, Joe. But I don't know. I would have to think about more fun stats for your team. I mean, you've obviously been really good recently. You've been to what, 4 of the last 6 championships.
I think, yeah, something like that. 4 of the
No,
last
4 of the
6 or
last
4 of the
7.
last 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but this is obviously your best start. Your most regular season wins before this is actually 9, so you're over halfway there with most of the season to play. But no, I don't have any tremendously fun stats, and I'm looking at this on my phone right now, so I can't really pull anything off the cuff. But if I come up with anything, I'll be sure to send about 7 texts in the group text at 2 a.m. about it.
Okay, I can't wait. Look forward to that one.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll do it for this week's episode of Are You Ready for a Podcast? Hunter, thank you for joining us, and everybody remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
All right, thanks for having me. Good luck this week, everybody.
This telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.